Tara Jacobson, Marketing Artfully. Just get my necklace in place. So today I wanted to talk to you guys. I had a gal in my Facebook Etsy marketing group, and I'll put a link to that below in case you want to join. It's free. That asked a question. She said that Etsy had sent out a ultimate guide to branding that was really good. She liked the concept, but she was facing what a lot of you may be facing, in that you don't know how to pick a brand, how to develop a brand, what should be your brand. I mean, I think we can all understand concepts of brand, but until we break down what does that actually mean, and how can you do that in reference to your shop, your store. So let's look today at branding, and this ultimate guide to branding is great. You can click through to all of these. I'll leave a link to that also below. But let's look at some brands. So I want you to think, what is this brand? So that smile is definitely Amazon. And every time you see that little smile box, you think, oh, there's Amazon. And then it's funny because today it smacked me in the face that they have a second brand. They have that Prime Day brand that is the blue tape that goes over every box that they've been advertising. Now, today is actually Prime Day. And they're having Prime Day because retail sales are slow, historically slow everywhere in July. And so they came up with this reason to increase sales, which is super smart. Obviously, there are some great marketing minds at work, and Prime Day is a way for them to boost their income during the summer. So, but that blue box, that blue tape on every box we get from Amazon. I get a lot of boxes from Amazon. My husband has a little shopping issue with Amazon, so I see lots of them. So that's kind of interesting. Now, let's think about who this one is. This is Target, of course, and we're going to stick with retail today because as Etsy stores, we are a retail store. We're part of the larger Etsy brand, but we are definitely a retail store. So this is Target. Now, if you look at anything, they have the Target on every Target store, obviously. They got the Target on the dog. They got Targets everywhere, right? But the one thing I love about Target is more so than Amazon. So let's go back to Amazon. Amazon kind of has this black smile, and then their website has sort of that, here we go, here's the color, this kind of yellow color. But I don't know that if you, asked a ton of people what are the brand colors of Amazon, they may be able to come up with black, and then they kind of split it with that blue, right? So theirs isn't as strong as Target. Now let's think about, do you know any other red companies? And for me, if I think of a red company, I think automatically of Coca-Cola. They smack me in the face with that red. So color is one of the ways that you can really start to bring branding into your business, and I will talk about that more. I have a whole bunch of examples for us. But the other thing about Target is they're using a similar font. Now, this is a very plain font. It's a modern font because it is, there's two kinds of letters. There's serif, which are Times Roman. You know how like an L comes down and then it sits on little feet. So the feet are the serifs. And this is sans serifs because there's nothing like that. And fonts like this are considered to be more modern. So you would want to think about that in your branding. Target wants to be very hip, very modern, very today, very cool for young people. I mean, it would have a really different feeling if all of this was in an old typewriter font that was very less, cool and hip. Speaking of not cool and hip, actually very cool and hip, but in a different way, this is Magnolia, and this is Joanna Gaines's from Fixer Upper. She has a TV show on HGTV, and I don't know if you're a nut like me, but I've watched all of her Fixer Uppers. And her brand is Rustic Farmhouse. Like, it is Rustic Farmhouse all the way. And the thing that makes it so interesting is she is stocking her store with farmhouse items that kind of harken back to the olden days. So if you look at her logo, it is those serif fonts. It looks like old typewriter script. if you look at her product photography, not only does it have, you know, it has grass. I think she's selling this thing. She's not selling the bottle. She's selling the container. But all of it is on like an old wooden farmhouse table. Very few of them are just those plain Jane white, you know, totally white backgrounds. The products she chooses are battered, you know, dingy already. They came already rustic. She's selling old looking magnifying glasses. Now all her stuff is mass produced. So those of us who sell vintage on Etsy, we could really get an idea about how to style our pictures, how to brand ourselves. There's some really good ideas here. And then even if you go to her books, her book, I don't love that she changed her font to that. But here you see on her Magnolia Story, she kept with that same branding. On her newsletter, or excuse me, her magazine, she has that same branding. So she is very, very consistent, and she has a retail store in Target. So let's talk about all the loveliness of branding in one place. And each of her retail stores is a mini farmhouse inside of Target, which I think is just absolutely brilliant. It's that rustic farmhouse look. Whether you live in, you know, Miami, New York City, wherever, you can still have that kind of same feeling as you can get in her actual store, which is in rural Waco, Texas. So her brand is amazing and is rustic and is family, is home. So if you can start to think about what your brand is, and I will tell you, for my Glamorously Vintage brand, mine is very much vintage products. It's very vintage rather than antique. Like, I'm not selling cherished or museum quality treasures for the most part. I'm selling decorative items, kind of like Joanna has, that make your home feel really neat. I like unique things, okay? So if I find something like this, which is a grape candle in some sort of silver finish, now that may not sell as quickly as if I had gotten something a little bit less unique, but I prefer to be able to charge higher prices and to have more unique one-of-a-kind items. The gal that asked me about this question, she sells jewelry, and she prefers to find things that are very sellable because she wants the turnover of her product. So those are things that you want to think about. How, you know, branding is not only the way that you're showing it, but it's the products you're choosing and what you want to have in your store. Now, this is my store on Etsy, and this is my digital products store. And I wanted to show you my branding for this. And my branding for this is Paperly People, and it's business planners, courses, and worksheets. So paper, right? It goes together. I chose this pink and green as my colors. I have a scripty font, which is really different, and that's called Lobster. It's a free font. You can use it. And so that's my branding. If you go through any of my things, you'll see that I have that same, you know, pink scripty font branding throughout wherever you see Paperly People. And that's a really good way to start to do that. If you go to my Facebook page, you have here, and then there's that same scripty font. Now, on my products, I have a little bit different look. This is a very modern font, and I have that on every one of my products, and that's because it goes with my bigger brand of Marketing Artfully. So my Tara Jacobson and Marketing Artfully are my main brand. Paperly People is a product offering, and so I had to brand that very specifically differently than my Marketing Artfully. So those are all different levels of branding you can do, and so as you go through, you'll see that. Now, I wanted to talk about why having a brand or why having a look or a feeling or a vibe is important. And this is the front of Etsy today, and I was going down here and I saw they pick all kinds of beautiful pictures, and they pick colorful pictures, and they picked this lady, and I thought, oh my gosh, she must be selling a ton. This must be her brand. You know, I can see this. I would think ethnic. Look at the trees in the background. The striking woman, you know, very striking picture. Then you have the Heroceras. So this is a head wrap. I looked, she doesn't have great SEO. She has a brand on her actual brand. And then I was like, well, I wonder how many she sold. And she's sold 11. She sold 11 head wraps, and she's on the front of Etsy. And I understand why people get upset. And they're like, how can that be? But this person, this woman, it looks like Shantae. Shantae has a very specific look to her product. It is for a very specific woman that wants to wear a colorful head wrap. And she has sold 11. I'm super excited for her. And sorry about that. And so this is something that she will be able to take into the future. Now, this is her actual logo. I think that this as branding, because of the nature of what she's selling. On my Glamorously Vintage shop, and people always ask me, Glamorously Vintage. Oh, look, I come up in, there we go. Oh, I must have spelled it wrong. Hold on. Okay, you're back. But on mine, I have, you know, some of the crazy product offerings I have. On my Paperly store, I do not. I don't have a top piece because I want to get into them buying. And also my, my featured listings are so colorful and bright. So I think that everybody would like a direct set of rules on what you should do and how you should list things. And it's really distressing when you can't do it. But you can find that even somebody with 2 shops, I have a banner on one of mine and I don't have a banner on the other one, can have a different feeling to it. So this is my vintage shop. I use my product photography definitely to show that I am a farmhouse rustic. I have battered old boards with chips and dings in them. I have layers of battering. I have old-fashioned Grammy, you know, placemats that I take my pictures on. So I definitely have bought into that vintage vibe and project myself that way. I think I made a sale because I had 400 things in my shop. I will have to check. Maybe we made one while I was on the video. All right, and now let's look at Portland Leather. Portland Leather is one of my all-time favorite shops. I have featured them in another post about having different iterations of the same product, so I'll make sure to put a link to that below here. But what I love about them is you can really figure out who they are, okay? So Portland Leather is in Portland, Oregon. So they are definitely handmade in Oregon. Look at that back there. That's amazing. And to use that as the background of your picture is so perfect. You know, they are happy people. They're young. They're selling a lifestyle. This is, if you buy this bag for $100, half off, right? Like they're using all kinds of things to make you want to buy the bag. You can have that life where you're getting ready to run out. Young people, they have great 6-color options. Let's go to their store and you'll see it's all about, they have lots of pictures, lifestyle pictures outside. They have lots of hipster guys in beards. I'm assuming that when hipster guys in beards go away, they'll take pictures with whoever's next. They have the traveler old school, you know, on the boards in the back. I think that overall they have done an amazing job, and they have 66,000 sales, so they're obviously doing something right. So, what about you? How can you figure out your brand? And I think if you can start to think of, in Etsy, we used to have those overall Asian Zen farmhouse chic, rustic farmhouse, glamorous, Hollywood Regency, hipster, young and cute. So if you can start to think first, what is the overall vibe of your own perception of your store? So say you sold expensive, even costume jewelry, but it was going to be expensive costumes jewelry, you may want dignified glamorous, right? You may want old school glamour or old school charm or whatever. You might, if you're selling jewelry like that, you may focus simply on weddings and funerals, right? You have to figure out first what your heart says, what you love the most, and that will make branding 1,000% easier. Say you are a nerdy guy who's, I'm working with a gentleman who's a nerdy guy whose wife makes candles, he makes soap, and they have superhero and, sci-fi movie, candle sets, right? That's really nerdy. And if you were to say to him that he should go delicate floral, it's going to really clash with his own aesthetic, his own vibe, how he and his wife would like to present, who they would like to sell to, who they would like to be talking to all the time. So another thing that you can do is, and I'm huge on this, I know who my customers are. My customers for my vintage shop, my perfect customers are prop houses, product photographers or food photographers who need props for them, and also people who are doing set decoration and product photography. Those are professionals. I'm a professional woman. We work really well together. Now, do I sell to people who are, buying it for, I've sold to people who are replacing something they had in their childhood. I've sold to a man who actually I think was just buying the glass from my picture frame because he'd broken a glass from his picture frame. Do I sell to those people? Yes, but in the way I present my brand, in the way that I present the words that I use, it's very professional. It's very, I have quick shipping. I have, fast communication. If you need me to overnight that, I will do it the next day. I'm not one of those Etsy sellers who has a 6-week lag time because I'm doing something precious and handmade. That's not my brand, but it could be your brand if you're doing something precious and handmade. So if you have any questions about this, or you have would like an idea, if you want to put a link to your shop below, please feel free to do so. I try to answer all my comments. It may not be the same day, but if you're looking for a brand, say you find a shop with a great brand, let's help them too. Put some of those in the comments below as an example. If you like videos like this about marketing, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you like this specific video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button to like it, because that really helps. It helps me show up and help other Etsy sellers. So hopefully that helps. Tara Jacobson, Marketing Artfully.